Hello and welcome to today's Inktober video. We will be covering days 2 through 6 in this one video. Day 2's prompt word was mindless, and to be honest, a lot of the Inktober prompts ended up being pretty difficult for me to come up with ideas for. I wanted to go with, for mindless, the idea of repetition and trying to quiet your mind. So I decided that I like to draw plants. Plants make me feel good. So I did some plant studies, and you'll find through a lot of the series, I quite often like to draw small objects or series of things rather than like one large illustrative piece. Sometimes, like day 1, I do one large piece, but most of them I try to do as small collections of things. So I was hoping with the idea of this piece, I could do a series of small plants to quiet my mind, things that would make me feel good. And it ended up it was another rough day, the second one, and my mind would not quiet, which was rather ironic for the prompt, but I'm still happy with how the different plants turned out. So I am, for this series, using Dr. P.H. Martin's India ink and Black Star India ink for lining, and then the Dr. P.H. Martin's Pen White for white details. So here I'm just going through and adding some washes to get some tones in. I just kind of found plants that looked interesting to me, ones that I wish I could have in my little workspace. I have an anti-green thumb. I cannot keep plants alive to save my life. I am really trying. So this is a good way to bring plants into my space and help quiet my mind. It's just drawing them. You'll notice throughout this that the sizes of the pieces vary pretty widely. This one is a lot smaller than my last one, and that's because I have already planned out all of them and decided that they all work together as one collective series and will all be displayed on the wall together. So this is just a small little study because it doesn't need to be very big, alongside some of the more important pieces that mean a little bit more. Day 3's prompt was the word bait, and this was extremely difficult for me to come up with an idea, even harder than mindless was. First thing that came to mind was fishing bait, and then traps, and I really didn't want anything literal or like telling a direct narrative in a story. As I said, I like to draw collections of things, and just doing a full-out illustration with like a plot or something just didn't really seem what I was wanting. So after a couple ideas, I decided to go with actually just some fishing tackle without the actual necessary bait on them, but they are bait. And this fit right in with the different collections of things, especially like I did a lot of fishing as a kid, especially with family, and it was very reminiscent to me. I always remembered how beautiful a lot of the pieces of tackle were. And it reminded me of that childlike curiosity as a kid of inspecting things very closely, and it's something that I've carried through to being an adult. I'm fascinated with the details of small things, and so that was why I wanted to focus on just the small little pieces of fishing tackle for the word bait. Day 4's prompt word was freeze, and when I was planning all of these, I went a day at a time and I didn't look ahead later in the list. And it ended up being not that many days later in the list, the word actually was snow, which I didn't know when I was planning freeze, and I was drawing out anything I could think of that was frozen, and the only thing that seemed to fit with my idea of collections that I could come up with was just snowflakes. I liked how delicate and small they are, how they all can be different but pretty similar, and so I just decided to go with a couple snowflakes. I ended up doing most of it with the actual white ink instead of going in and drawing it first with the quill or the glass pen. I think it turned out pretty well. It was really small, so it ended up being a lot harder to get details than I wanted. And none of these pieces I really want to be very detailed, except for maybe a few of the bigger pieces. This is a very busy month for me. I am actually doing these every day. I'm not, pre-doing 4 of them in one day and then, taking a couple days off. I am doing daily ones. So, I mean, I have to keep some of them on the smaller side. Some of them I want to be more detailed, and it kind of was just based upon whichever piece seemed to spark more interest for me. But this is the small one for free. It's just a couple snowflakes and some sprinklings of snow around them. Day 5's prompt word was build, and was another one that was kind of hard to come up with an idea for. All I could think of was something actually physically being built. And I liked the idea of having something with construction lines. I thought that could look cool with mark making, but didn't really match the style I had done on the previous pieces. I also had the idea of doing something like a blueprint, but again, didn't match the style. So I ended up going with what you see here, which is tools that you would use to build something, which worked for the kind of collections of small objects that I've been doing in some other pieces. So these are all tools that I actually have. The little thing in the top left is a little 2-inch level that I own, a box cutter, a wrench, pliers, hammer, tape measure, and a triangle square, which is very important for cutting square paper edges, which it's one of my favorite tools I own. And it actually turned out a lot better than I thought it was going to, and was more interesting than I thought it was going to be. A lot of these tools are way more detailed than I had ever really realized. That's something I've always appreciated about the design world, and feel like isn't appreciated on a kind of full acknowledgement scale of how much work goes into product design and things like that. So it was kind of neat to take a step, even if these aren't super duper detailed. It was nice to just take a moment and kind of look at those things really closely. And I think that is also kind of a really cool thing that can come from prompt lists, even if they're things that don't necessarily inspire you. They get you to do work that you may not have necessarily done previously, or look at ideas that you wouldn't have done on your own otherwise, which is exactly what happened with this one. And the last piece for this video is for day 6, was the word husky, and I think this is my most literal piece out of the entire Inktober prompt. I really couldn't think of anything other than drawing a husky dog. So I ended up looking at just a couple different poses and went with this close-up, a half-view one. And I didn't actually decide which one I wanted to do until I had planned out every single other Inktober piece and looked at them all as an entire series, and then figured out, once they're all on the wall together and arranged, kind of how the composition needed to be. And I was really fortunate that this actually was day 6's video. I really didn't feel well this day, which it's been going on for a little while, so that's the theme of these first couple videos. And so my hands are actually really, really shaky while doing this, and fur texture was actually the most wonderful gift I could have been given as an idea for day 6, because I didn't have to have really, really steady hands. But it was just nice, drawing kind of a dog and taking a break from some of the smaller objects. So that is it for this video. Thank you so much for watching. Please stay tuned for more Inktober videos, or go back and watch day 1's video as well, or some of the other ones made. Some of the videos will be single ones like day 1, the pieces that took a little bit more time, and then some other videos will be like this one, where it's a compilation of a lot of smaller different pieces. And then at the end of the series, I plan on doing one video where I have all the pieces together, kind of show them all off, and talk about the story that kind of ties all of them together, because as random as they all seem, I do have a plan. They kind of all seem like a collective body of work, or at least around one whole big idea. So please stay tuned. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.